Well, despite economic headwinds and the Hungry Ghost Festival, developers in Singapore sold 1,256 private homes in August, 16% higher than July's take-up and hitting an 11-month high.
There were more units launched last month, even though demand is typically lower during the Hungry Ghost months. Instead, new home sales grew faster than expected after the circuit breaker period ended on June 1st.
The 2-month lockdown had upended sales and planned launches in April and May with show flat closures. We're pleased to welcome Mr. Ismail Ghafoor, CEO of PropNex Realty. So Ismail, why do you think there is still demand for new private property given that we're experiencing our worst recession and that perhaps we should be more prudent moving forward?
I mean, I've got no doubt about these buyers are prudent to start with. First and foremost, these are some of these buyers who probably have been waiting on the sideline for some time. And right now, they are taking advantage of the current property market because indeed it is a buyer's market and developers are pricing the properties sensitively at the launches. Many of the new launches, the prices are attractive enough. And when we look at it from the interest rate, today we are experiencing one of the lowest interest rates. So it is always good for those people who can afford. And most of these buyers are buying the property with a mid-term view, which is 3 to 5 years or more time horizon. And they are pretty confident that the current crisis over time will be over.
Would you say this upward trend reflective of the public housing market, particularly for BTOs?
I think when we look at it from the public housing, I will not only confine to a singular BTO, even the resale. For resale market has really been doing very well. I must also say this is partly because of the government's additional housing grant, which has been increased up to $160,000 for anyone buying a resale flat last year. That has created a little bit more stronger interest and demand simply because people are a bit worried about the BTO being not completed on time because of the delays in the various construction. So the resale market, I must say, is doing very well with increase in terms of volume of transaction. As far as the BTOs are concerned, yes, some of the newly married couple and the first timers would like to take advantage of the BTO prices. Generally, BTO prices are about 20 to 25% cheaper than the resale flat, and we have also seen strong take-up rates for BTO dependent on location in particular.
Right. Well, say I'm a prospective buyer, Ismail. Is it a good time to buy or rent now? Because earlier you mentioned low interest rates.
Yeah. From a buyer's perspective, I will say the current market favors them because it is indeed a buyer's market. Because as we said, the background that we are experiencing, one of the worst recession and a global pandemic and economic situation don't seems to be clearing within the next couple of quarters or months. But having said that, that again at the same time provide an opportunity to buyers to go out there to have a good bargain, either a resale property or for that matter, even new launches that are sensitively priced. From the rental perspective, therefore, my answer here is this: it is a good time for buyers to go and buy, but one must be certain that their job security is there. No point committing and subsequently overstretch, and if you lose a job, it is going to create a lot more stress to the already stressed one will go through. Then, from the perspective of renting, I would suggest the only group of people who should consider renting is if your job is not certain and you need a roof over your head. Because imagine, if you are certain about your job, paying a rent means you are just throwing away the money to the landlord and nothing that you're going to benefit after a couple of years. Therefore, it is always prudent to buy unless your financial situation is not certain.
Right, good advice there, Ismail. So, on the same vein, if I'm looking to sell or rent out my place, is this a good time?
I won't qualify from a seller's perspective or if you intend to rent as a good time or bad time. Sometimes you don't have a choice, but if your house is vacant, you have to rent. If not renting means that it is going to be vacant and you're not going to get any form of an income. Therefore, understanding the current market, if you're renting a place, I would suggest to all landlords to be more sensitive and to be able to negotiate downward if necessary, understanding the current market situation, 5 to 10% lower from your previous rental amount, a form of an adjustment to make sure your tenant continues or to finding a new tenant. But from a seller's perspective, I must be very upfront, this is not a seller's market. If one intend to sell and expect to get a record price, I want to get the highest possible price, I don't think it will favor them, unless of course your particular property is in such a superb location and such a panoramic view that people are prepared to pay $1 million even for a public housing. If it is not, sellers, this is not the best time to sell. But having said that, put it this way, if you're a seller of selling a smaller unit and upgrading to a bigger unit, why not? Because when you sell a property that is $500,000 and you lose 10% is 50,000, and if you can buy a property worth 1 million and you can save 10% is 100,000, therefore in a net position, you will still be a winner.
Right. Well, very good points made there, Ismail. Thank you so much for joining us on the show. That was Ismail Ghafoor, CEO of PropNex Realty.